not normal stuff going on in the world. We could probably call this a pretty big storm in our lives. You've heard me call it that before. We've talked about storms and rain and growing where we're planted and those kinds of things. But today we're gonna talk a little bit about how we can be calm, how we can have this thing called peace in our hearts while this big storm is going on. You know, it's not easy being a kid in a normal setting, right? When we were going to school, when we were hanging out with our friends and doing all the things that we really just miss and want to do right now. It still wasn't easy being a kid, right? It wasn't easy being a mom or dad or a grandma or grandpa. But now we're missing all those things. We're in the middle of, we don't know what's going to happen next week. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Guys, we don't know what's going to happen in 20 minutes. So how do we have calm? How do we have peace when all of this stuff going on, we don't know what's happening? We have no control over it. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to see a story of Jesus. We're going to read kind of an overview of a time that he was in a literal storm. The waves were on the Sea of Galilee. It's think of Lake Erie, but smaller. And they had a storm come up while they were out on the boat. And so we're gonna talk about that a little bit. All right, and we're gonna see how Jesus had calm, how he had peace enough to take a nap. Yes, that's right. He took a nap on a boat in the middle of a big storm. So we're gonna read about that, and then we'll go from there. So here you go. Here's our picture and whatnot. It says, "Peace in the storm." Have you ever been in the middle of a storm? What made it so terrible? The wind? The lightning? Did you panic? Storms build when hot air and cool air come together and then create unstable air. If there is moisture in that unstable air, then clouds appear and rain falls. And then if the raindrops inside the cloud freeze and collide, the whole cloud can become electrically charged and lightning might flash. Storms are common on the Sea of Galilee because cool air comes down from the mountains that are nearby and then warm air rises up from the sea. Strong winds also come off a nearby plateau called the Golan Heights, causing waves up to 10 feet tall. Many of Jesus' disciples were fishermen who were familiar with the Sea of Galilee and its frequent storms. But the storm that arose when Jesus was with them was worse than what the disciples were used to. In fact, it was so terrifying, they were sure that they were going to die. Where was Jesus while this storm was raging and everyone else was panicking? He was fast asleep. It might as well have been a sunny, breezy afternoon. This peace Jesus experienced obviously did not come from his surroundings. It came from within. It came from his perfect relationship with God the Father. Jesus knew that God had all things under control. And when Jesus stood up to speak to the wind and waves, he knew that they would obey him. Even creation knows who Jesus is, and the one and only Son of God. The Bible says that when things are stormy in our lives, we can experience the same calm that Jesus did. It's called the peace that passes understanding. And you can find that a little bit more about that in Philippians 4:7. We can have peace when it seems like we should panic. Kind of like now. We may never be in a terrible storm like the disciples, with the rain and the waves and lightning, but we might face an illness, a tragedy, or heartbreak that we didn't expect. God can give us a peace that passes understanding because that's the peace that he feels. Nothing in the universe is beyond God's control. When everything around us is unstable, God remains secure and he is mightier than any storm. So, you guys, I want you to hear that, is God is mightier than any storm. That's pretty awesome. That even this storm that we're in right now, this sickness that we have going around right now, it's not as big as God. God is bigger. So, moms and dads, I'm going to ask you to ask kids a couple questions. All right, I'm going to post those below in the comments. So be sure to check those out and have a conversation with your kids about storms and how we can be calm. All right. I love you guys. We will see you tomorrow at 4, where we are going to do a little science activity that kind of builds off of this idea of having a calm and peaceful spirit during a storm. We'll see you tomorrow at 4. See ya.